amazing experts. And today I have somebody who's a dear friend of mine, and he lives in Florida. And he just basically radiates joy and love wherever he is. But I'm just so grateful to have you here this morning, Kairi. Thank you so much for showing up and just welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you. It's so great to see you, Abby, as always. And thanks for having me. How are you today?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, Kyrie, how have you been able to connect with your intuition? I know you have created amazing products and services and things around the world with your intuition. How did you first get connected to your intuition?
Um, that was kind of the hard part because it's weird because it's something that once you get it, you realize that you've had it before, but you didn't recognize it to be what it was.
Yeah.
And it's kind of that feeling where you just have these urges or these thoughts or these impulses to do something.
Mhm.
And I think before you recognize it, you're just like, oh, I shouldn't do that. That doesn't seem right, and things like that. And then I started meditating. And when I started meditating, I started realizing that, number one, it was harder for me to get into meditating. And I just could not figure it out. I was trying to physically think about, you're supposed to meditate, you're supposed to be quiet, you're supposed to, and everything like that. And I was getting frustrated. And then finally I got into this place to where I got quiet. And then it's kind of like my body kind of let go. And I kind of felt this, shivers or something like that. My body would move. I would kind of feel a little light. I would kind of feel a little floaty, and then thoughts would come, and it would be thoughts that were, I wouldn't say unusual, but just kind of like, where did that come from? And I think the more I did that, the more I kind of understood that, wow, these thoughts that didn't seem logical in the moment ended up being like an amazing path to what I actually wanted. But it wasn't the logical way that I thought I should, follow in order to get there.
Right.
So once that started happening a little more often, I think you begin to trust more. And then you realize that you were actually doing that before, but you didn't know that it was the right thing to do. You thought it was some random thought that didn't really mean anything. And it was actually the best thought to get you to where you wanted to go. It just wasn't how you've trained yourself to go there. It wasn't so structured.
Mhm.
And I think because I was such a structured person, I was looking for something more regimented, something more acceptable to others that people would understand, and not realizing that, my path is, could be different in getting there. Someone may obtain a goal doing it one way, and doing it where you write lists and you do this and you do that, and you're supposed to do it in this order and things like that. But I was realizing that my way was a little different, and it was much more effective when I just followed my gut, my intuition. And then things really fall into place. And it's funny because when things begin to fall into place, you're just like wowed all over the place. And it's like, oh my gosh, okay. And you're like, I just thought this was a random thought to go to the store or to go to the beach. And you end up meeting like such amazing people that you're like, wow, I never would have met that person if I would have, stayed here and did some of this work and tried to make things happen. I think it is what it was. And that's what it was. Instead of trying to make things happen, you kind of just let things happen, and you just followed the flow of what just felt good. And that's kind of what it's about. It's about feeling good and trusting yourself when you feel good. When you feel good, nothing can go wrong.
I love that. I absolutely love that. And I mean, there's so many times I've called you and you're like, okay, just go to the next best feeling thought. And I'm like, it really is that simple. It's like, just keep running, it gets better.
I know. And you're like, no, that can't be right. That can't be right. It's like, it is. It's like, just relax and chill out and enjoy yourself. And you're like, how can I enjoy myself when all of this is going on? And it's like, because all this is going on because you're not enjoying yourself. It's like, you gotta
Right.
like take a chill pill, trust yourself, go to the beach, take a walk, sit down and listen to some music that you enjoy, or like what I love to do is sometimes I would just sit for like 10 or 15 minutes in front of the fan. I love the sound of the fan. And what's interesting is the more I started meditating, I found that I got into a better meditative state while listening to the fan. And then
Mm-hmm.
one day I was doing that and I realized I had like a flashback of when I was a kid. Because when I was a kid, I used to always have the fan on. I grew up in Detroit, Michigan. So in
Yeah.
the wintertime, it was really cold. And I would be up in my room. I would have the heater on to keep the room warm. I would be wrapped up in blankets, but I would have the fan on. And my mother would, in the middle of the night, storm up into my room and she would turn the fan off. And then she would go back downstairs and we kind of had some, I'm like, why'd you do that? And she's like, it's winter time, it's 0 degrees outside. Why do you have the fan on? You're wasting electricity. And but I learned that after she went back downstairs to bed, I waited like a few minutes, like about 5 or 10 minutes, and I turned the fan on and I wasn't able to fall asleep until I did so. And the interesting part was whenever I was asleep and she turned the fan off, and I was a heavy sleeper, I would always wake up instantly when the fan turned off.
Mm.
So when I was meditating one day, I realized how that state of mind that I was in felt so similar to me just kind of chilling out in front of the fan. Or like when we would drive places in the car, I would always sit behind the passenger seat or the driver's seat on the floor with the windows down because it would be kind of cold. It would be a little too much wind for me, but I would just love that breeze, that circulation, and it would just put me at ease. And I would feel it was like my safe spot.
Mhm.
And that's when I realized, like, wow, I've known how to meditate all this time, but I never put it together as meditation. But it's really a state of mind. And then once you get in that state of mind, you find and you realize that things just flow. And you'll be expecting a call and wanting someone to call you for something, and you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe they can't call. Oh, I hope they call. The minute you forget about that call, the minute you forget about that project because you're so stressed out about it, you'll get an email or a phone call. And it's that person or someone even better calling you, giving you exactly or more than what you want. And then you step back like moments later and you're like, wow, all this time I spent stressing over this, I relaxed for just a few moments, or I went to the store or I went for a walk, and I come back and I get this phone call that I've been waiting for, that I've been like, going crazy about. And it comes in those soft moments, those light moments where you're just like, you're more in tune to yourself. You're not worried about anything else. You're not, you know, trying to figure things out in your head, oh, maybe I should strategize and do it this way. And that's a funny thing because a lot of times when you try to strategize, the way of doing things, you'll get kind of caught in a rut in that strategy in your head. And then you relax for a moment. And then a thought just pops up and you're like, oh my God, that's it. And then you just write it down. And that's what I learned, because before I never wrote things down. And now I've learned, like, when those thoughts come, you better write it down. You better get on your phone and go in the notes section and start writing those notes, because that information is a gift. It's a gift of your inner being just speaking to you clearly. You're in a soft spot to where you can hear everything, and it just comes, and you just learn to trust it more and
Mhm.
more. And that's the thing, learning to trust. And that could be tough at times, especially when you're right in the middle of something. But it's all about trusting yourself, and trusting that the universe has your back.
Mhm.
And yeah, that's how you do it.
I love what you said. It's like a softening, right? So softening of your body and your heart and an opening. And I
Yeah.
had the gift of connecting with a colleague yesterday, and hopefully we'll probably have him on the show. But he talked about how, your body, there's so much more of your body than just your brain. So when you actually bring your awareness
Yeah.
into your body, right? And
Mhm.
like you're saying, you soften to listen and receive, and
Yeah.
your mind is quiet. Like when you're talking to me, it's you're putting your mind in a state of flow, in the sense that it has something almost consistent to kind of give it a job, right? And so
Yeah.
you can open up to that higher intuitive
Mhm.
awareness, and really it comes through your body, and I
Yeah.
know somebody used to like judge me on the impulses that I would have, but it really is an impulse. Like your intuition is like, it moves you forward. It's a
Yeah.
life force energy carrying itself through you as you.
Yeah.
So when
Yeah.
you trust that and you identify yourself as you are, which is the light, you trust that light to move through you.
Yes.
And exercise, I know both you and I exercise a lot, and
Yeah.
that's one of the ways to like move it through, right? And feel it. And you can even like, even if everybody watching wants to rub your hands together really quickly, you can start to generate some energy, some chi in between your hands. And then
Mhm.
you can slowly bring them apart, and you can actually start to bring them closer and then further away. And you'll feel the energy
Oh,
between,
wow.
right? And
Wow.
it's like it's moving you. Like when I first started teaching classes, this is what I did. And it's like, wow, we're literally shifting energy. You can move them around. Like actually, Kyrie, even you and I can actually face our hands to each other. We'll feel each other's energy even through the screen. Can you feel that?
Feel the
It's
pulsation there?
I just
Like
feel
it's
warmth and connection.
vibration?
Yep. Hmm. Yeah.
Wow, that is, ooh.
Right. Yeah. So knowing you're that powerful, and even putting your hands on your heart and centering your other hand on your belly, finding that place of center where you're conscious of moving your energy, right? And you start bringing intention in with this state of flow you're talking about. And it's like, my intention is, and then you come into alignment with you. So part of what you're saying is how you come into alignment with you. What
Yes.
does that feel like? And you've been an amazing catalyst for me, because I remember there was a point where I felt really not in alignment with myself. And it was like, you're like, hey, Abby, just get back in alignment with you and everything else will click. And it did. And it was just like, oh, yeah. So the gift of not feeling in alignment is actually to get back in alignment and then be like, wow, like I'm so powerful and
Mhm.
connected. I remember years ago, I just got back from Thailand, and the reason I mention this is I saw it on the beach, and it was a circle. And it
Mhm.
was basically, I talked about in this teaching, are you inside the circle of life or outside the circle?
Ah,
So if
yeah.
you're inside the circle of life, you realize you're connected to everyone and everything. And
Mhm.
you're in that place of oneness where you can connect with your heart and your gut and listen, like you're saying, like a softening. So the
Yeah.
thoughts can come through, because it's almost like every thought is probably not true. Like yesterday he was talking about, like, if you're analyzing, like he said something like analyzing, like you're
Yeah.
too much like in your head, like
Yeah.
move into that state of softening. So like you said, those thoughts come in and they resonate into
Yeah.
a state of harmony, and you're like, oh yes, that feels right. And when it
Yes.
feels right, you take action,
That's when you
right? And
exactly.
then trust, right? So that's the trust piece, right? It feels right and you take
Mhm.
action. Yeah. Did you
Yeah.
want to add to that?
No, I just want to agree with you 100% because that's what so many of us get wrong. We think that when we're in a rut, we have to take action. We have to take action. Let me think of the next move, and it's exactly what you said. You have to step back a little bit and get more in tune with you, and
Mhm.
then you get that this overwhelming feeling of the right thing. It just feels so natural to do, and you just do it. And you just, when you're in that zone, and that's what it is, you're in a zone. You're in a zone with you, and you trust, and that's when you act. and
Mhm.
and when you act, when you have those impulses, those good feeling impulses, nothing's going to go wrong. Like everything is going exactly where you want it to go. Even places you didn't even know you wanted to go, you go there and you're like, wow, I didn't even know all of this is over here,
Right.
and I didn't even know that I would, meet, yeah, this person and that person, and they end up being like signature people of your life,
Mhm.
just from following your gut, and
Mhm.
usually from doing things that you never thought you'd be doing. It's that second guessing,
Mhm.
that gets us in a lot of trouble, because
Yeah.
usually when we're second guessing, we'll have an impulse to do something, and then we're like, well, that doesn't seem logical. And then the next thing you know, you're like, oh, maybe I should have done that. How many times have you done that?
You're analyzing. Yeah, totally. Totally. Right. And it is, I think it's the immediate sense of trust right after you take action, right? So your gut says yes, you feel that impulse, it
Yeah.
feels right, and you trust it. And it's like sometimes you don't know why until later. And that might even be a faith, right? From trust
Yeah.
to faith. But it's really like a sense of knowing.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah,
to
it
me, it's
is.
like truth within, like everybody can feel truth and they're like, okay, truth feels like this. And
Hmm.
there's this inner knowing of certainty within. Therefore, I know I can trust myself,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Because you
Yeah.
are the light. I am the light, right?
You,
So you
that's it.
know you're being moved.
Yeah, you don't have to look outside of yourself for this light, because it's all within you. Like you are the source. You are part of the source, which is your inner you, and it's guiding you always. And it's just a matter of, are you listening? Are you soft enough in your environment to actually get into alignment and listen to that voice that's always guiding you, and it's always guiding you in the right spots. But you know, when you get too much in your head, you kind of block it. It's kind of like you have like you know, you're getting all these messages and it's coming down, and then you put up your umbrella. You're like, wait a minute, I'm trying to think. Wait, wait, I'm not getting wet, but I'm not getting any guidance either, you know.
You're
And
like, where's the rain? It's too much rain. So
yeah.
you know what I'm thinking, Kairi, as you're talking, is we're talking so much about it. Can you give us an experience of exactly what we're saying? Listeners, the experience of softening, opening to their intuition, and quieting the mind. Is there anything like a 5 or 10 minute meditation or something that can actually bring them into a state of awareness and intuitive divine connection so they can feel it, right? Experience is the best teacher.
Experience is the best teacher. One method that I saw, a friend of mine sent it to me, and it was a YouTube video of this guy. And it was one of the first times that I was able to actually quiet myself, because my mind had always raced. I always had a mind that raced. But I would just sit there, and as you're sitting quiet, and you may have like a hum in the background or something like that, but it was, you would just say release, 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 and you would keep repeating release, 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 and it'll naturally get softer and softer. And then you'll all of a sudden be kind of quiet, and you release, 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 release. And then if you find your mind wander, you just go back to release, release, release. And you just want to like kind of let go, let go. And then all of a sudden you find yourself into this like state where you just kind of like almost floating a little bit. And then when the thoughts that are in your head just become subtle, floaty, but good feeling, not like a thinking thing, you kind of know you're there. And you may feel like some numbness, kinda, or tingling. It's kind of hard for me to explain, but you know, kind of like that vibration thing that you get with your hands, you kind of feel a little bit of that in your body sometimes. I noticed with me, I would kind of get these uncontrollable impulses to just like my body would shake,
Mhm.
and it would just feel like just energy just flowing through you. And that's where it's like it's addicting when you get there. But that was one method that I tried, that I found, because my mind was always racing. I found that just focusing on one word to release, it just allowed me to release my thoughts, and you just kind of get there, and it feels great.
Maybe just
Just
taking a few moments just to feel and just hear, release, release, and notice what your body does, what your intuition does, how you feel more open. Just taking a few moments. Just noticing how there's an opening as you release. And what came through while you were talking, Kairi, is when you release, you're letting go. And the heart, if you can all feel it, it actually starts to open,
Mm-hmm.
and it actually starts to receive the harmonics of what is aligned with love. So if you release, to receive love, you actually don't have to hold on. It's there. It's almost like
It
you're lifting.
is.
You described it's like you're floating, right? So
Yeah.
you're releasing in your heart, you can feel it lift, and then it's actually open to receive the love that's actually coming in to greet and meet your heart.
Mm-hmm.
So although you are connected to source, absolutely, you're connected to everything else too. So that love
Exactly.
can come and meet your heart, and you're in the harmonics of, oh my God, I'm living in the flow. I'm living in love. You can be in love
Mm-hmm.
in every moment. Like I used to
Yeah.
like be like, I'm in love with everyone. Like I just
Yeah.
genuinely would feel in love because I couldn't really tell the difference. Like I just, so it's like to have that much love is to be in that much connection with your heart and to open and know that infinite source of love is always there.
Yeah.
Like you talked about, like the umbrella. Dude, you
Yeah.
don't need an umbrella. Just let
Yeah.
it rain down on you, like the rain of
Mhm.
blessing. Like it's so beautiful. So I just invite everyone to release and open to your heart, your beautiful heart, and what's there to
Mhm.
actually be met, right? Let your heart meet the love that's already there and that's like seeking to come in.
Yeah, and isn't it interesting? Like sometimes you feel like it's almost like your limbs become you don't even feel them. Like you can't tell the difference
I don't
from
know that I've gotten to that far. I
yeah.
still feel my limbs, but good for you.
It's
It
like
really
yeah, that's what I mean. Like that numbing feeling. Like it kind of feels like
Mhm.
you can't really tell that your feet or your arms are actually there. You're just kind of like in that
Mm,
space.
mm,
And the greatest thing is like when you come out, like everything looks so different. Everything looks brighter. Like if especially if you were to go outside, you'll notice like more details in like the grass and the trees and just nature and you would see like the animals going like we'll have like squirrels or ducks and it was interesting where I meditated one day and I took a walk outside and I had this duck that just it was the most amazing encounter where this duck just came right up to me and I was fascinated by the duck. So I took my phone out to take a picture of it and I thought it was going to run and it just walked right up to me and let me take the most gorgeous picture of this. And I was like, wow, like it was almost like it was like, hey, I see you. It was beautiful.
yeah.
But you just notice more and you're just more engaged with your environment and it's a great feeling. It's a great feeling.
Yeah, it reminds me. I might have shared this before in another episode, but right before I moved, there was like 20 geese, and I was walking, and at one point they literally all stopped, all 20 of them, and
Yeah.
just looked right at me, and then
Uh-huh.
walked towards the water. It was like some pond,
Yeah.
and it was like, "Stop, Abby! Listen, get to the water." Like I could tell they were interacting with me, and it was just
Yeah.
like, wow, like
I know.
such power,
Yeah.
such power.
Yep. Yeah. It's amazing. It's amazing how you feel and like the day you have once you're there. And some days, I'll admit, and I'm sure it's happened to you where you just don't get there. You try to meditate and your mind is just racing and you just don't get there. And those days you just kind of go about your day anyway. But one thing I've noticed was whenever I get like really involved in an activity, like when I'm making some formulas from my supplement line or something like that, or when I'm in the process of like planning something, once you get in that flow of that activity, you get into a zone there too. Like there's no one way of doing it. Like your involvement, your focus in an activity that you're passionate about kind of gets you there as well. Have you ever been cleaning like maybe your apartment and then you just got in the groove and you're just like cleaning and it's all you wanted to do. You're like, wow, I never wanted to clean, but now I just want to clean everything, or detailing your car. And you just get so into the waxing and the detailing of your car, and time flies by and you're like, wow, I couldn't believe I was doing that for like 3 hours. But you loved every minute of it. And, different people do different things to get in that zone. I'm sure musicians do it when they sing, when they're practicing. I have some friends that are musicians, and when they just get into like experimenting and practicing and testing this and testing that, a whole night would go by and you're just in the zone. And that's when like the greatest songs are created, the greatest melodies and collaborations. It's just amazing. Like, it's not only just being quiet, getting in the zone, but just getting involved in something that you love. And you can get there as well. And things just fall into place. I know when I'm an inventor, and it's like when I was inventing my bottle bucket, which is an ice bucket with a built-in bottle holder, which chills a bottled beverage in the same bucket without touching the ice. But I remember in that process when I was developing that, like one night I just kind of had this idea, and I started like going, and I didn't know where to go, and then I just kind of stopped for a little bit, and I'm just kind of just sitting there, and the next thing you know, like I started sketching, and I started like, oh, okay, and I went through like maybe 3 or 4 different ways, and then it was just like magic how it all came together, and the details just came together, and then you just didn't want to stop. Like even when you created this piece, you just wanted to do more, and like, oh wow, now what's the next step? Because you're just so in that zone, and in that creative zone. I used to bowl for a living, and when I used to bowl, when you get lined up and you have like it's called being lined up in bowling, and you just get in that flow and you're just throwing the ball. You're not even thinking. You can just get the ball. You know exactly where you're standing. You know exactly what strategy you're going to use as far as like how you're going to rotate the ball, where it's going to go, and it just flows. And you just repeat. The moment you start thinking, that's when you screw up. That's when you throw it a little hard, or you throw it too soft, or you overturn it or something like that. But when you're just like flowing, it just happens. And even like in bowling, you can be very instinctual, where you're striking, and you'll get like 7, 8 strikes in a row. And I've done this many times, and I've shot some perfect games doing this. And then all of a sudden, you move like 3 or 4 boards to the left, and you make an adjustment, and they're like, well, why did you just move there? And you're like, I just knew it was coming. I knew like the lane was breaking down. I could feel it breaking down, and that move was the right move. And the other people that didn't make the move ended up getting trapped, and their ball ended up hooking too much. But you beat the move, you beat the transition, and you just kind of felt it because you were in that zone. And that's how you do it. You get in that zone and you trust, because you know what you're doing. And when you don't doubt it, it happens, and it's very fluid.
What's fascinating as you're talking, I keep getting the word like heart connection. So I know it's funny, like I notice like when you and I talk, it's so easy because there's such a heart connection.
Yeah.
And so in each moment, we all have heart connections to people, to things that we love, to things we love to do. So my question for everybody is where is your heart feeling connected? And go do that. Maybe your heart feels connected to art. Maybe it feels connected to going to the ocean. Because if you start connecting your heart with things you love, that frequency, your frequency gets higher, and it does put you in that state of flow, right?
Yeah.
So, and I was so gifted. This Thanksgiving, I had a student come to visit, and she reminded me, she said, Abby, always, if you're feeling down, fill your heart with joy. You used to always tell me, go do the thing that makes you feel with joy. Remember? Before I started, I had the little choose joy.
Exactly.
Right? And it's like, just keep growing your joy, because in every moment there is that capacity to connect to the infinite source of love. So
Mhm.
where is your heart connecting you to the next person, place, thing? And it feels good, right? And then let
Mhm.
that energy build, and your vibration will lift, and you can experience more love.
Exactly. No, that's true. That's
Yeah.
true. Follow your passions. When you have, even if you're working a lot and oh, I can't do that, I work too much and all that kind of stuff, you can go home and do a little bit of something. You can just play with something. You don't have to do a huge project, but I could almost guarantee if you start something that you love and just do a little bit of it, 5, 10 minutes of it, the next thing a few days, a few weeks, a couple of months later, you're engrossed in this project and you find more time to do it. And then everything else in your life gets better too. You gotta continue to follow your passions, continue to follow your joy and your love, your heart, whatever your heart is into. You definitely have to resonate with that connection and make sure it's satisfied. I think too many people, kind of like myself before, where you think you're supposed to do this and you're supposed to do that, and you're supposed to be true to yourself. You're supposed to, follow your passions, follow your desires, and not someone else's or what they think you should be doing, because everyone is different. We can all have the same goal, but we may all get there in different ways.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's just like driving from one destination to the next. There's not only one way to get there. There's several ways to get there. And some people get there quickly. Some people may take the scenic route. But you know what? That scenic route is pretty interesting.
Yeah,
You
and
know,
it's like, I remember when I first, actually, I think I was still in high school. There's a book called The Road Less Traveled. And I
yeah,
was like, that's what I want to do. I'm going to create my own path, right? So sometimes, like, you're creating the path, like, you are the path.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And it may not be the same as yours or Bob's or whomever else, but it's yours, and embrace it. Yeah,
Yeah.
embrace it. I love it.
So how were you able to, translate your intuitive guidance into the business that you have now, and helping people with nutrition and health? And I know you're an athlete as well. So how were you able to kind of, like I said, translate that and move that intuition into that space?
Well, kind of from experience, and I used to be one. When I first started modeling and I was doing a lot of fitness stuff, I would, want to be in shape and want to look my best, and I started taking all kinds of supplements. I would literally have about 15 bottles of pills and powders and all this stuff. You like your different amino acids, your vitamin C and E and HMB and CLA and you name it. If I thought it was good, fish oil, like all that stuff. And I just, at one point, I felt like, oh my gosh, what am I taking here? It kind of felt so toxic. And then you're realizing that, all this stuff, it's synthetically made, and it's not the real thing. And you realize that your body is more into like the natural stuff. And that's when I started following my gut of like, it didn't feel right to continue to take that stuff. Although I appreciated the journey of me taking it, which actually made me realize that, okay, maybe this isn't the right thing to do, but I was going in the right direction. So there wasn't a wrong step, but it was a step that led me to a place that, that my gut was like, okay, now we're here and this isn't where we want to go. We want to go beyond this. We want to go to something more organic. We want to go to something, more natural, more easy for you, for me. And then I discovered like an algae product. And from the first moment I had it, it was like waking up and splashing cold water in your face, that you're like, oh, I'm up. That's how I felt. And I was working on one of my patent applications at the time. It was about 10 o'clock at night. I will never forget this story. And I took it just to try it out. It was my first time having it. And it was literally like, I realized at like 1:30 in the morning that, wow, I just like flew by on this stuff like for the past 3.5 hours. And I felt great. And I was not ready for bed. I didn't feel jittery or anything. I just felt great. And it was like my mental capacity was just, my mood was just like, hmm, this is great. And that's where it started. So I started going down the road of, all right, I know I'm taking these because they're supposed to do, all the other supplements. I was taking those because they're supposed to do this for my body and that for my body. But then I started researching the food equivalent, or what food source can I get that's even better. And because algae is, one of the most complete foods in the world, I started with that, and I just added a few more things, and just kind of followed my gut with what should I research, what should I not. Sometimes I'll see some things and I'll experiment it, and it just didn't feel right. And even though a lot of other people were using it, I was like, this just didn't really feel right for me. And through that process over the next few years, I developed this proprietary blend that I thought worked amazingly well. And from then on, I literally made it myself. A little bit of this, and a little bit of beetroot, a little bit of maca root, a little bit of raw cacao, and my spirulina and my other algae. And I carried it around with me in my baggie. But I've never felt more alive. I've never felt more natural and organic. I never felt clearer. It's like things just flowed, and working out and things like that was just a breeze. I ended up reducing my workout times from, an hour and a half a day to like 25, 30 minutes a day. And everything just got easier, but better, more simplistic. And I just followed my gut for the most part throughout the entire thing. Now there were moments where I was like, but this should be good for you, and I should be taking this. And I would do it, and then it just never really felt right. And then when I went in the other direction towards what felt right, it was like, oh, that's why this didn't feel so good, because this feels so much better. And then you start learning, like, okay, I'm just gonna, follow my gut, and see where it leads me. And in many instances, you do that. When you're maybe on the road, sometimes you may be like, oh, you know what? I think I should get off the freeway right here, and I'm just feeling like something's off, and then you don't get off. Next thing you know, you're like, oh my gosh, now you're like behind this big mess, and something told you, you should have taken this exit here. You didn't know why, but it just felt like the right thing to do. And I think that's the way you learn the best, is when you have that feeling and it's so strong within you, and when you don't follow it, and then you find out what happens when you don't follow it, that's when it reassures you that, there's something to this. Because the times that you do follow it and everything just flows, and then you compare it to the same feeling and you're not following it, you're like, wow, there's something to this. And that's where it's just like, now it's just learning to trust, and try to feel good, try to feel as best as you can, and more and more. And even when you don't follow it, you kind of have a feeling that, okay, this is expected. If things didn't turn out the way you wanted it to, but you had the feeling to go this way, but you went that way, and you're like, all right, this makes sense, and you're more accepting of it. Because you appreciate I hate failure, because failure is such a bad word. You appreciate the contrasting experience just as much as you do the free flowing experience, because they actually it elevates the free flowing experience. You appreciate the times that you did follow your intuition more so from the times that you didn't, because it's like, it's more rewarding. It's like, you're in tune, you're like on the right track, you're feeling good, and when that feeling happens, it's exhilarating when you're going from here to there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I was just feeling it with you, because it's like it is exhilarating, actually, it's a great word, when you're
Yeah.
in tune and in alignment and following your intuition. And if something feels off, a lot of times it's like emotion coming in, and
Mhm.
emotion does help us, but the knowingness guides us, right? It's like a compass. Um, so there was a couple things I was thinking of when you were talking. I don't remember now. Um, but I think for whatever reason, what's coming back is like the heart connection. So moving into that heart moment, where are you guided next? Heart,
Yeah.
let it expand. And then that's where it was. The gut. So as you're talking about, some of the products you've created, your gut knows. And so even at a physical level, like feeding it like your nutritional stuff and probiotics, like I know for me, like I probably have a Kavita a day because it's like the probiotics actually feed my gut literally at a
Yeah.
physical level.
Hmm.
And so like doing the things that feed your gut at a physical level, you will
Yeah.
actually be more tuned in to the intuitive and emotional response that
Yep.
your body is constantly giving you.
Hmm.
Um, and the second point was that just happened a couple of days ago. I was driving back and I was really guided to pull off the freeway, like way or like 3 or 4 exits before my exit.
Uh-huh.
And it was like, and I was like, why? And I was feeling kind of overwhelmed anyway. So I think I needed to go slow,
Uh-huh.
and nothing bad happened. I followed my intuition, right? But as
Uh-huh.
I took that exit, I did follow my intuition, and I drove through just different little cities of lights. Like there's
Yeah.
like, little beach cities of lights. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so beautiful. And I
Uh-huh.
can actually slow down and enjoy the ride. So what
Exactly.
may or may not have happened on that freeway, I followed my intuition and enjoyed the ride. So sometimes it's as simple as like listening to your intuition to enjoy the ride. Like let it be easy, let it
Hmm.
be fun,
Exactly.
and see the lights.
Yeah.
Like choose the
Yeah.
light path.
No, that is exactly it. Like it's that is a perfect example. You never know why, and you just did it, and you just have this amazing, joyful experience. Like you're like, wow, I never would have known this was here. I mean,
Yeah,
how many times have we discovered things by like going or turning the wrong way? And then you're like, oh, wow, this is a different way of going here, and you notice something that's beautiful that you enjoy, or a house on the side of the road that's like, oh my God, that's an amazing house, or whatever it may be.
yeah,
It's all the little things are not so little because they bring you such joy and happiness. That's what you're here for.
yeah,
You're here to enjoy it. You're here
yeah,
to be happy.
yeah.
And it doesn't have to be the big prize,
Mhm.
because the prize itself is just your happiness. It's your joy. It's your, just feeling good. And
Yeah.
that's what it's all about. Whether it's you know a big award that you're getting, or just enjoying your puppy, or something like that. It's just, feeling that joy and that happiness.
Totally.
Which reminds me, I wish I had me a little puppy.
You're so funny. Well, I want to open the phone lines to anybody who wants to ask us a question. You can call 858-692-4555 and just ask Kyrie or me a question in the next like 15 minutes or so. Again, that's 858-692-4555. And Kyrie, the other thing I was thinking is like, joy, it's like the spark of light, right? So it kind of expands. So share your joy. Like notice how when you're in that heart expanse, more people are attracted to you, more experiences are attracted to you.
Mhm.
Life just gets easier. So I don't know if you want to illuminate on that a little bit, but it's kind of to your point that we were talking about either on before or after the show. I'm not sure which, of just like basically you attract in, like you are that source and then you attract in
Right.
all
It's
amazing.
like, you notice like when you're in a good mood and you're feeling good, you may go to a party or a mixer or something like that, and you just meet the most amazing people. And they just kind of come up to you and are like, hey, how are you? And you just have these conversations. You don't know who they are, but you have the best time and the best laugh. And it may be a friend that you may meet just for the night, or a friend that you may, keep in contact with for many years to come. I've met many of my friends that, you know, just out of the blue, we just started talking, and the next thing you know, like 20 years later, they're still your best friend, or they become your best friend, and it's like, you never know who you'd meet. And it's not about like long-term relationships with people. It's just about enjoying people. Like when they're floating high and when you're floating high, you meet, and it's just an amazing time. And
Yeah.
I think we all want that, when you walk down the street or you're walking in the supermarket, and you just see someone and you smile and you just start a little conversation, and you find out that you have like something in common, and you're just like having the best time in line or having the best labs in line. And then they go and you go, and it's like, it's such a wonderful time. You know, that feels amazing. And that happens a lot too. I really love it. Or, you know, sometimes you're like driving and something happens in the parking lot and you just get this like 5-second interaction with some people, and it's just like so funny.
Yeah.
You know, I was going to the gym the other day, and there was this Ferrari parked next to my car or behind my car, and I'm walking by and I'm just looking, and I was like, oh, this car's like really hot. And and there's this lady coming towards me, and she's saying something, and I had my headphones on, so I didn't really hear what she said, but I thought she was talking about the car, but she wasn't. She was talking about her garment that fell on the ground. And we just had the most amazing laugh with that little confusion and then finding out what we were talking about. And it was just like a little 10-second interaction that was just like, it was really amazing. And it was fun, and it was light. And I went in the gym. I had the best workout. You know, those things, it's little things are just so enjoyable. And when you're resonating on that high level, you attract so many different people, and they flock to you and you flock to them, and you don't know why, but you realize it's for the experience. You know, it's for the joy of it. It's for the fun of it. It's for, you know, just having your best life in that moment. So it's good.
It's a frequency match, right? It's a frequency match. I remember, I don't know, last week I went down to the beach, and I like probably 3 or 4 kids literally stopped, like were walking, stopped, turned around and looked me in the eye and smiled. I mean, it was just like a frequency match, right? It was just like, okay. So to kind of notice and keeping your heart open, what's matching your frequency, right? And what do you want to create from that space of love, from that foundation of love, and let it just expand, you know, let your heart expand.
Exactly. I remember going to the beach one time with some friends, and me and a buddy of mine, we went down to the beach in South Jersey, and we're just walking around and looking at things, and then we just run into this one girl who just seems kind of odd or whatever, and we just have this interesting interaction. She was just so much fun. And then we met someone else, another couple, and they were just so much fun. We ended up spending the entire day and evening together, just having fun like we were best friends. Never met anyone or each other until then. And it was just the best time because, you know, we went there going to the beach. We just wanted to have fun. We wanted to enjoy the weather, the people, and we just attracted all these great people. And we all just like had the time of our lives. And, you know, not knowing that when we left home, you know, we didn't know we were going to be a part of this big group, just, you know, having a bunch of fun and everything, but it turned out magical because of your intention of just, you know, wanting to enjoy yourself and, you know, being willing to accept whatever the universe was going to match you up with. So it was good.
Absolutely. Love it.
I love those moments.
I do too, for sure. So speaking of, I know we only have like probably 7 or 8 minutes left. I want to give you an opportunity to share the products that can feed your body and your intuition in a way to really help people. So I know there's a website, but can you share a little bit more about them and the website where people can get them? Just a bit more about that.
Yeah, well, I created a brand called Attrition, and the motto is to feed your body the way nature intended. So it's a base of microalgae, a blend of unique microalgae, along with superfoods that give you the ultimate source of nutrition, which gives you energy, but it gives you energy through nutrition at the cellular level. And the first product was the Attrition Bioenergy, which is you take 3 capsules in the morning, 3 in the afternoon, and you literally feel great. It's great for your mood. It's great for your energy. There's no jitters. There's no crash. People experience better sleep, a better flow. And it is just a great all-in-one product, but it does the all-in-one very well, like with the people with maybe some joint problems and things like that, or inflammation issues, they find a lot of relief from that. And we also have a joint formula called BioEase, which is really great for people with more severe problems in their joints. And it's done some amazing things. There are some amazing testimonials on the website, which is rawtrition.us, RAWTRITION.us. The testimonials are phenomenal. And from all of the products, from the Rawtrition capsules to the BioEase capsules. We have Rawtrition in shots that you can do, like a 5-hour energy shot, but it's an all natural, no artificial sweeteners or stimulants or anything like that, no synthetic isolates. And then we just came out with a product called Fire Focus, which is great for that person that, is always kind of, their brain is kind of scattered. Their thoughts are kind of scattered. They're constantly like overthinking. Maybe someone that has like a lot of brain fog. Fire Focus gives you the energy to where you just kind of clears up the brain fog. It clears up yourself, your mentality, gives you a better mental clarity, helps you with kind of those depression type feelings that you may have. And the regular Rawtrition, a lot of people have said that as well, but Fire Focus is a little more focused on that. So just, making you more of who you are, and feeding your body, doing it by feeding your body at the cellular level to just help to rejuvenate those cells. And then once they start, rejuvenating in a healthier state, you just become better and better. And it's just a free flowing feeling that you get from using them. But a lot of people find out that after using Rawtrition, they'll find like maybe a month later that they're doing so much more than they used to. And, they would probably go to work, go home, sit on the couch, watch TV and things like that. And the next thing you know, you talk to them after a month or so, and they're like, "Oh no, I started this project here, and I'm now doing this, and I'm building this in the backyard and all that stuff." And you're like, "Oh wow," or their spouse is like, "Oh my gosh, I don't know what's gotten into him, but he's like doing all this stuff." And then the husband's like, "Oh my God, she finally cleaned the house." What's going on?
Yeah, they're back to themselves and everything changes.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. I love it.
Exactly.
And it's just feeding the natural. It's almost like, I feel like you said, how nature, like coming back to nature. So it's like your body coming back to itself, like moving back into alignment with itself. So you can feel its intuition.
Getting rid of the toxic chemicals, getting rid of the synthetic ingredients, getting rid of all those foreign ingredients that really tax your organs, because your body has to process that. And it's a toxin when it's not natural. If it's not like a food or plant source, it is a toxin to your body. So it may be mocked to be one, but it's not. And your body's not going to recognize it as that. And your body's a very smart machine. It knows what's going on. It's like.
Yeah. A fun thing to do is like intuitive eating, or like intuitive, like buying of these products, is you can feel your intuition and it'll literally gravitate towards it, or you can have like a certain food and maybe it'll gravitate away from that food, but your body constantly, like you said, it's a very smart, like I think you said, machine. I mean, it's a smart system, right? I mean, it's a living organism. It knows. So to really trust, what you're being drawn to and what you're being pulled away from, kind of energetically.
And with everything, you got to trust your body. Your body knows. Your body knows. If you just get in tune with that, and that meditation or participating in things that you love, getting into that zone, and not trying to think your way through it, but feel your way through it, because you're going to get a lot further when you feel your way through it. Your thinking can get you in a lot of trouble. Your feeling is always true. Whatever you're feeling, it's a direct representation of where you are, and where you are in reference to your inner being. Because if your inner being is feeling resonance here, and you're feeling, despair or frustration, you're not in resonance with that inner being, and that's what you're feeling. You're feeling that discord, with lining up with your true you. So you got to follow the way you feel. And when something feels better, go there. If a person feels better, go there. If drinking this or eating this feels better, go there. You know, you don't want to get into a war with like food or anything like that. If you enjoy something, enjoy it, and you know, and own up to you enjoying it. And then from that point, you may have intentions of getting healthier. Like people, they're like, oh, you know, I want to go on a diet, but you know, I can't have this and I can't have that. You don't want to get into that negative campaign of what you can't have. You want to try to get on a positive campaign of what you want to have. Oh, this would be good for me if I have this. You know, think more in that direction instead of, you know, the pushing against and making this, you know, the bad thing. You know, make something the good thing because you deserve good things. And you want to experience those good things. So, you know, find a way to feel better about what you're doing. You know, whether you're going to cheat, enjoy cheating and don't call it cheating. Say, you know what, I'm just going to have this because I like it and I enjoy it. And then the next time I eat, I'm going to have this because it's healthy and it's going to make me feel better. And I enjoy that. I enjoy feeling better after eating healthier things. And I enjoy, you know, having my donut too, because it feels good. You know, don't beat yourself up. I'm the
Yeah.
donut king, believe me. I love my
I
donut.
think it's funny. I totally intuitively eat. I eat like muffins and donuts, whatever I want, really, because it feels in tune, you know? And so it's like
Exactly.
you release the judgment and kind of tune into what you
Ah,
need. Like
that's
really,
exactly it. Release the judgment and
yeah.
just go with it. You know, I'm gonna have some chocolate truffle ice cream in a little bit before my lunch. I'm the kind of guy where I have to have my dessert first. Because I crave it and I don't want the craving to go away. So it's like I'll have a little bit of my dessert first and then I'll eat like my meal. And it's fantastic. It works extremely well. And I enjoy both. So it's like, you know, have fun with it and enjoy it by all means.
Enjoy yourself.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, is there anything else you would like to share before we log off live today, Kairi?
Well, it's been a pleasure talking to you and seeing you again as usual. I always have fun doing that. It's always just a pleasure, just a nice, light, fun moment. Yeah, but I'm just gonna, you know, have my chocolate truffle ice cream and maybe go to the beach for a little bit and step into the water and then come back and do a little work and I'm good.
Beautiful. Well, I invite everybody to check out Kairi's website. Amazing work. I know we don't have enough time for it today, but he had amazing testimony with his mom and just really has transformed a lot of people. So I'm sure you can reach out to him through the website.
Yes.
And we look forward to seeing everyone next week. Until then, please, please, please follow your joy, listen to your intuition, and stay in harmony with you so this world can really experience your light in a greater way.
Yes.
All right. Namaste. Bye.
Bye.